Welcome to Falling Forward with the Ross Sisters. I'm Dr. Christine Ross.
And I'm Carmen Ross.
So, why are we here? Well, realistically, Falling Forward came about because I'm over here talking to sis, and we are talking to a friend just about what it looks like to make mistakes as a whole. And Carmen, and I don't even remember the total context of the whole thing, but she was just like, well, you're going to mess up, but just fall forward. And I was like,
Yeah, because
yeah.
like from my experience of falling, because I'm a professional faller because I'm very clumsy. So what I do when I fall is that when I trip, I roll forward so I won't break a bone. So when I fall, I land and I roll,
It's
and
kind
it's
of like
always in a forward
that
motion.
stop, drop, and roll. It's
Right,
a
right.
planned fall.
Yes.
It's a calculated fall.
So when you're falling forward, once you hit that ground, it might hurt still, even if you're rolling. But once you fall, you got to figure out which way you're gonna go. So since I'm already falling forward, I'm just gonna walk forward. So you don't want to fall backwards. You want to fall forward so you can use it for growth.
Yeah, and I think that whole thing is one thing that Carmen and I had talked about, and as we were even thinking about the ideal of this show, is one of the big kind of steeples that I live by is that there's always a crisis before a change. So you ain't never heard nobody say, well, you know what? My life has just been so great and so perfect that I learned all these things. Like, usually those people are like really without insight. They're usually without good friends. They're really without. I feel like you don't get wisdom from it. You only get wisdom when you actually pushing
Fall,
forward and you're falling and you're like, oh, I'm good. I ain't finna do that again.
Right,
Like
right.
I learned from this experience. I'm not finna do that again. So, but I can go ahead and inform you based on my own experience as to what this might looks like. My daddy used to always say experience is the best teacher, but a fool will have no other. So basically, if you want to learn what it means to get shot by getting shot, you do you, boo. However, I am okay with learning what it means to get shot by just talking to you about your experience of being shot.
Yeah, I used to talk to my friend about that because she told me, and she was 18 and she was young and I was adult, and she was saying, well, I want to learn for myself. And that's a good thing to learn for yourself. But some things I just don't want to learn for myself. Just like being shot. I don't want to get shot. So I'm not going to put myself in a situation to get shot so I can say don't get shot. I'm going to say I don't want to get shot because John got shot over there and John's arm is on the floor. So I don't want that to happen to me. So I'm not going to do it. And when I was younger, I wish that I would have learned more and listened more to other people because the wounds get deep, man. Like some of these wounds, I still got a scar on my leg from a bad tragic incident when I was being a damn fool. But I do not want to create other scars on my body. I want to learn from somebody else's mistakes.
So, and I think it's looking at at the end of the day, there is value in our experiences. There is never a point in our lives in which we don't have value in the experience that we have. And that doesn't matter how crappy the freaking experience is, but it's a choice. It is a choice at the end of the day. Am I going to take from this? Am I going to learn from this? Or am I going to allow it to be my hindrance? And I think a lot of people go into that place that, oh, why this always got to happen to me? Why this, blah, 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 blah. Well, let's look at it like this. You are the common denominator in your own life. You follow yourself every single place you go. You can't get away from you. So when we over here talking about, well, why is this always happening to me? The first question you got to ask yourself is, why are you the same you? Why have you chosen not to learn from what happened that last time? Because one thing that especially I feel like within the last 10, 15 years, and for me, and I could just say, me being a Christian, and sometimes I'm not going to lie, I don't always have the cleanest mouth, so let's just keep that real. But with me being a Christian, I always be like, okay, Lord, I don't know why this got to happen. However, what is it that I need from this situation?
Yeah, and then we also got to realize when we fall and we have crappy situations sometimes. I mean, we all go through something. But this is what I heard somebody say, and I can't remember who it was, but I really believe this. Every path you take leads to where you need to be. because every situation can be used to get you to your end game. And it's at the end of that game is what you choose to do. So you can say, man, I wish I would have went to school when I was 25 opposed to 45. It still leads to the same road if you go to school, to graduation if you complete it. So no matter what path or whatever crosses your mind or what regrets you have, it's still time for you to get back on that end path, because all roads will lead to one end.
Well, and I think to that point, though, I feel like a lot of times in our growth, that's why we kind of, our minds keep on going back to that. Well, I still want to go to school. I don't know why I didn't ever go to school. I still want to blah, blah, blah with my kids. Well, why your mind keep on going that way? And it's because that's what you're supposed to be doing. Mm-hmm. That is the path and the plan for your life. Mm-hmm. And you keep on wondering why you in this backward spiral, why you keep on falling back. It's because you keep on going back.
And that reminds me of Christine. When she started going to college, she knew what major that she was supposed to be. She knew what her calling major was. I call it. But she didn't listen. Why don't you tell me about that? I
did not listen to it, because it's so funny, because like the Lord be telling me things, y'all. And when I tell you he be telling me things, half the stuff I don't be wanting to do. Like, yes, I say I'm Dr. Christine Ross, but I never did want to be Dr. Christine Ross. I was good with my bachelor's degree. like I was good. And then I was like, Lord, after each degree, I was like, shoot, I ain't finna do this no more. And then there we go again. I was like, well, I guess I'm doing my master's now. But it really comes down to when I first did my bachelor's degree, I remember I was in college. I went to La Cueva High School here in Albuquerque. And I went to, what was it, like a college night sort of thing, and it was New Mexico State University there, and the soon as somebody said family and child science, the Lord's like, that's what you're gonna do. And I was like, I don't even know what the hell that is. So what you mean I'm finna do this? So that first year, like, I was like, yeah, this is what the Lord wants me to do. I never did go to New Mexico State for the first 2 years. I was over here chilling
at good old CNM.
It was TVI. Yeah, back in the day. Back in the day, it was the TVI. Yep. I was over there working at Bank of America, doing my thing, and I finally went. And then this is how hard-headed I am. Your girl didn't even go to family and child science at that point. I did a psychology major. So, disclaimer. Yes, I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. This basis of systemic thinking is rooted in psychology, but it was a spin-off of it into systems theory. And I bring that up because I don't like psychology. I didn't like the psychology major. And I had taken a statistics class that, I ain't gonna lie, y'all, I don't even know how I passed it. I didn't even finish the final exam.
Oh yeah,
that's
school
how
was
much
I
didn't know. Yeah. I don't even know what the professor's name is. I was in every single office hours this dude had, and
wasn't you crying at one point?
I'm sure I was, and I feel like he had mercy on me, because
he's like, I'm just gonna pass you.
This is my only student that be coming to this office hours, so let me go ahead and give her a pass, because at least what she did was right. Now she only finished 20% of the exam, but hey. So, but with that being said, with that experience, I finally went to, it was in the ag college at that time. I went to Family and Consumer Science Department, talked to who my advisor became at that time, Dr. Esther Duvall. So shout out over there. Nonetheless, I talked to her, and then I went into family and child science, and it was history at that point. That is what I ended up doing. That was what I ended up loving doing. And it's interesting because, again, it still has it rooted within those same kind of belief structure as regular psychology, but looking at it from a system like that lens makes it different. And I'll give y'all just a slight rundown of what that systems theory is and what's different, but between systems theory and individual model is really the fact that I'm not just looking at you, and I'm not just looking at Carmen and saying, well, Carmen, what can change you? I have to look at you and say, well, if Carmen makes that change, what other dominoes does the Carmen domino hit? Mm-hmm. So it hits the sis domino, it hits the mama domino, it hits the girlfriend domino, it hits the whatever domino that is surrounding us. So we know that we ain't in a bubble. Anything that goes down in our lives, anything that we experience in our lives, it does not just affect us. When we have good friends and we hurt, they hurt with us.
And when it comes to systems too, that some people's like, I want to be alone. You can't do anything alone. You go to the grocery store. Somebody made those food for you, those good pizza rolls that I like. Some people do that. There's somebody checking you out. There's nothing that you can do by yourself. So that's why we need to look at systems as a whole, because we don't only affect us. We affect our whole unit, our environment, all the dominoes. Mm-hmm. And there's many dominoes in all of our environments.
Mm-hmm. And some of the things we won't even recognize, like even with Karma with the store example, all y'all fools that said I got pulled up by my own bootstrap. So you telling me you both the banker, the lender, the trash man, and the educator. And I've left out many roles of that, but you ain't playing all those roles. There's somebody that comes pick up my trash from the corner every Tuesday. Yep. And I'm grateful. I ain't gonna lie though, I do like going to the dump. Not the dump that's the downtown squishy dump, but the dump over here by my house.
Yeah, the clean dump. It don't stink at that dump.
It don't stink there, and when you throw stuff at it, things actually break.
Yeah, and it's really fun. But side note, go to the dump on your spare time. Those shows that
like the rage rooms.
Yeah, the rage rooms. Just go to the dump. Just go throw something away and just throw it in there. Just
but we digress.
Yes. Anyway,
but we say all this stuff because there's a lot of things that impact how we roll, how we present in our lives, and it is based on the people that we acknowledge will surround us, and it's our friends, it's our family. And one thing that me and Carmen have always been big on, and I'm not saying we always get along as sisters, but we big on accountability.
And accountability is not fun, especially if you're the one that's wrong, like Christine normally is.
The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. Corbin, my sister, I love her. I don't know how many times this girl done hung up on me for some reason or another.
I don't think of it as like a disrespectful thing necessarily, because I feel that I'm just protecting her from what I'm about to say before the hang up. That's what that is. So that is all. I'm just trying to save our relationship. So I just push click.
And I'm not going to, I can't even necessarily disagree with her. Because in that case, whatever I'm saying to her, I did not protect her from my clique. Yeah. I just told her, and my mom would be like, Christine.
Yeah, you knew that was going to get clicked, though. Why did you say it?
No, she'd be like, Christine, you need to call Corbin up. Mama, I didn't even do nothing. And I'm like, for real this time, I really did not do what
Christine let me tell you about Christine. Christine is the type of person that she doesn't have to get an attitude. She doesn't have to twist her neck or roll her eyes. She just say one thing and it just sets you off and pisses you off. In the nicest way. And if you were just looking at her lips and didn't read lips, you wouldn't even know what's going on. You think she have a nice, healthy conversation with her lovely sister, but it didn't go down like that. Click.
Whatever. That's not even what be happening. Because Corbin, she be all up in her feelings about stuff. And Lord, let's not talk about periods today. But 100% of the time that me and Corbin get into it, it's in 5 minutes in the conversation. I'm like, Corbin, are you on your period?
Therefore, it's not my fault. So we can just wipe all that off and you don't have to hold it against me.
No, because she be all what I'm like, what is happening? But then I'm like, okay, but I've learned from this, because Corbin's one, it has not failed. We be out of country, out of state, and I don't know, we really need to plan the vacation around the period.
And I'm gonna agree. I am gonna agree, because I get a little emotional, especially since I start crying on movies. There's this show called 911. I don't know if you guys seen it, but it's a real good show with Angela Bassett, I believe, is in there. During my period, I cannot watch that whatsoever. I just can't. I cry and cry. I watched 3 episodes in a row. They were so good, and I cried every single one, and I had to turn it off. And I'm never watching that show again. It's a good show, and it deserves awards, but I'm never. So anything, that's the first thing I ask Christine before a movie. Did you cry? Because you know good and well I'm going to cry. especially around that period of time.
Well, but to that point, because that's the difference between me and sis as well, is because at the end of the day, I'm not much of a crier, so I don't really mind crying during movies. And sometimes, but it's kind of hard for the movie to get me too. So sometimes it ain't really getting me at all as to what I'm watching. But I feel like that's really a huge difference in our personalities. But realistically, we're so similar in so many ways. Otherwise, because even, you know, we from the Show Me State. We from Missouri.
KC, Missouri specifically.
KC specifically.
Representing.
Sis and mom now live in St. Louis. So we always say we from the Show Me State. Even among our family, we're very direct people. And
direct.
Moving to New Mexico, one of the things I've realized is directness is not always valued in this state, but it's also not understood, because one of the things that we really pride ourselves in is that at the end of the day, if you ask me a question, you gonna get the answer. Yes. You ain't got to interpret what I said.
Yes.
There's
no confusion.
Yeah,
it's very clear.
Yeah, it's very clear. I told you XYZ. And that's exactly what I meant.
But it's crazy though, because in New Mexico, directness can be rude.
Uh-huh.
This is how I feel. Hey, bruh, can you hand me that on the table on your way over here? Or can you hand me something? Instead, they want to say, well, do you mind when you're walking past that table, since it's right next to your hand, could you please hand that to me?
Can you please hand me that?
Yeah. I don't think that's necessary.
Yeah, all you guys say is like, hey, here's the table, can you hand me that?
Yeah.
Because I don't even feel like we really saw ourselves as blunt people until we moved here, because it's just like, I'm just asking the question in a direct way. And a lot of people who are passive communicators, and Lord, let me tell you, this past year I have learned much about passiveness. Now, I never was a huge fan of passive communication. Because my whole thing, one time I was talking to this dude and he was like, you know, I'm just sarcastic. Like, I'm always like that. And I said, well, if you ain't going to say what you mean, what's the point of talking at all? Yeah. And he just looks at me and he was like, because it's true. Yes. If you're not going to say what it is you mean, why talk at all? Because what you're saying, though you think somebody done caught it, likely they don't know what the hell you're talking about. Yep. And so, and I say I learned a lot this year regarding passive communication, because I had a best friend, and I say had because we're no longer friends, but I had this best friend that was their modality of communication. And what I realized about that is many passive communicators think they're being direct.
When they're definitely not.
They're not, but they're really not saying anything at all. So somebody coming up to you and saying, hey, I like that red flower. So for most of us, we'd be like, oh, thank you. Like, I got that from TJ Maxx. Right. I got it from...
But what they really want to say is, oh, may I have that? Or I want that.
That's exactly
so they're going to get a different reaction from me. And that's one of my pet peeves. I'm going to tell you that. With kids, with adults, oh, I'm hungry. Thanks for sharing.
Exactly.
I'm glad that you shared that. I will remember that next time.
Ryan used to do that all the time. He'd be like, Auntie, I wish I had some bubble gum. I said, well sucks nice for you.
Yep. It would be nice if I had bubble gum too. And I keep it pushing. And I do not make any reaction until they ask exactly what they need. Because I don't want them to be ineffective communicators.
Because even with him, because I used to tell one of my best friends, Karen, like when we would be talking about my nephew, I was like, yeah, he had to learn how to order at a restaurant at an early age. Because if you ain't ordering, you ain't eating.
Right.
Like we over here talking in smoke signals and limericks and anything. We are communicators. So unless you're going to communicate to me or to the waiter as to what you want, you ain't gonna get it. Yeah. And you know,
and I don't know. I'm not a mind reader. I can't tell you what you want.
We do not have ESP,
right? So, and I'm not getting paid to have it either, because that's too much work trying to guess what other people say.
To that, I'm feeling.
I just wish you just tell me what you need.
Just tell me exactly what you want.
I'm guilty though, because I don't always do that. Like I can be so direct, but sometimes directness makes me uncomfortable around passive people because they get offended by the directness. Yeah. So I change it, but then sometimes I'm in my mood that I don't want to be direct.
Well, but
I don't know why though.
Well,
It doesn't help.
but I think even what kind of comes at too, it's just like it's at times hard to sit there and babysit people's feelings. So I at times don't. Well, so again,
I babysit people's feelings.
Disclaimer: when I say babysit people's feelings, I don't ever do that well. So
yeah,
like,
if you want a sympathetic ear, don't go to Christine.
Not call me.
She's the last person you go to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want the real truth, go to Christine. But you got to be mentally prepared for
I
it.
had to tell one of my good friends about that because she was like, well, I just wanted you to empathize with me. Well, you should have told me that.
Because that's not natural.
Unless you clearly, explicitly tell me that. Or let's say you crying. I'm like, okay, yeah. Like,
but she won't hug you.
No, I'm not really a hugger.
She's not a
like
hugger.
that.
So if you cry, don't expect, oh, poor baby. No, that's not going to happen from her. She does it in her own language.
Yeah. Like, I'll say, well, because I'm like, again, I was just telling people earlier, like, some people like basketball, some people like football. I like to talk. So if you need comfort from me, well, honestly, I'll take that back because you might not even be getting that when I talk.
Yeah. Christine is not about comfort all the time. If you're going through something, you're sad about something, yeah, just don't expect a loving shoulder or nothing like that. Don't expect that. And it's a loving manner. She does it out of love. She doesn't do it out of spite. But it's really beneficial. But when you in your mood, you do not want to hear Christine sometimes.
No, that's the same with Corbin, though. That's the same with Corbin, though. Because it's like, because at the end of the day, if you want to be throwing something at me, and when I say throwing something, it ain't like you over there like being aggressive or something, but you presenting to me information. If you presenting to me information, what I'm going to do is analyze the information that you present. Mm-hmm. So, and I feel like of my immediate family, when I say that, me, my sister, my brother, my mama, my daddy, rest in peace, that's what that's what you're gonna get from us. However, the form in which you receive it varies by the Ross's personality.
Right. Somebody said that I'm dramatic.
No,
I just feel that you should express yourself in a loud way. Because the thing is this, if I'm having a conversation with you and my face is like this the whole time and I'm telling a joke, you ain't going to feel what I'm trying to feel. So I feel that when I'm talking to you, I got to get into it. Hey, this girl, and I got to put faces and I got to do a little interpretation and little acts. And maybe a little act of what exactly happened.
Corbin is dramatic because one time we had got into it about something I said. I'm sorry.
I'm mad that she's laughing already because I'm offended by it.
No, when I said it, and actually, I'm lying. I don't even know what I said. But I can tell you, what I can tell you is my hands were literally like this. And I said something and it related to the hand gesture. And Corbin was like, you said this? You I was like,
no, Christine is dramatic.
Did I really say that?
It might be a little exaggeration, but I'm as hypersensitive.
It wasn't a little. It was not a little exaggeration.
It's aggressive anyway. If you know that I'm beefing with you, and then you pull up a hand involved in it, you took it to the conversation to another aggressive level. That's exactly what happened. So yes.
No, it would happen. Cora's up in her feelings about something, and I said something to her point that she didn't want to hear. And had we been on the phone,
she would have been click though. It would have been click. But you can't do that. So I need to have a little something, maybe a button with a click noise.
But
so
the difference too is though, with me and sis, even though we get into it at times, it's really never been 24 hours.
Yeah, we get over it. Now she takes a little bit longer than me to get over it, I would say. But no, actually.
No, Corman tell you, it depends because Corman, when she be mad, she'll be like, okay, she say all she wants and then she goes, I'm done talking.
No, Christine, we talkers. That's the problem. And we like to say our full thing. And I know when I'm in a conversation, I think I just need to take notes and put like, I need to respond to this. I need to respond to this. And so we just talkers. So then our conversations end up being, it could be a spat that lasts 5 minutes. But no, we talk so damn much that we can go on 15 minutes talking about the same thing. And eventually I'm like, well, I want this to be over with because we all got something to say after somebody say something. No, it's a never ending thing.
It can potentially be that. But the thing about it is, if you just would say, well, let's just agree to disagree, which is typically what happens anyways.
Yeah, maybe I should do that
Then
instead
we
of
could
clicking.
just
Maybe I should start
move
that.
on with our life. But I think even with that though, it's still looking at that fall forward, because I think one thing I was talking to one of my best friends Karen about was the fact that I felt like I knew myself in my 20s, and I did, but I actually know myself
In your 30s.
in my 30s.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, 30s for me was definitely 20s is more of the learning the mistakes mostly. I made more mistakes in my 20s, I would
Carmen,
say.
you 40.
You should know how old I am. Yes, I am a beautiful 40 is my 21st. Well, when my 19th anniversary of my 21st birthday. Yes, I'm 21 with some anniversaries. Okay? That's what it is. Okay?
Well, no, I said that because I was like, well, it makes sense because I'll be 39 this year. But I think with that being said, knowing yourself, like, I will put a postscript when I be saying stuff to people. I put the PS because usually I'm just going to give you what I say. And then I'm like, hold up, these folks don't know me like that. So then I got to postscript it and say, well, you're welcome to let me know if you got offended. Now, there's times that I actually might care that you're offended. So one of the things that me and Carmen be talking about at times when we're talking to people that don't know us or don't know how we communicate, we never go with an intention to offend someone. However, when you say you're offended, I might apologize that you got offended.
But it wasn't my intention because I didn't do nothing wrong.
Because it wasn't my intention. But what I said is likely exactly what I meant.
Yeah, but it's still that I'm sorry that I hurt your feelings.
Exactly.
That's not what my intention was, because there's always a sorry to be said. Like, speaking of sorry, like, even if you feel that you're wrong, I love you, and if you're hurt, I'm sorry that this caused you.
I don't want your feelings to get hurt. But that, again, going back to that fall forward, is at times your feelings need to be hurt
in order for you to fall forward and move that forward
to that place you need to be. Because I know there's times people said stuff to me and I'm like, man, that really cut deep. And one thing I learned in my early 20s, if I'm feeling some kind of way, because I love to be talking, y'all. I love to be giving people my opinions and telling you what I actually feel. But I have a pause moment that I really have to be thinking about, well, is this the time? Yeah, is this the time? Is this actually worth my energy that I should respond to this? And my rule has been, if I feel some kind of way that next day,
then you say something.
I'm going to say something.
See, I'm ADHD. And so therefore I say, there's not even a think that hits. Like, it just like, it goes from brain to mouth. It's not like, it's I don't know what it is. It's just like, zip, whoop, right there through there. And there's no pause and say, okay, maybe I should say it this way. Or maybe I should say it this way. And some people, since they don't know me, get offended. Because since I'm impulsive and ADHD, I don't always think before I talk. However, I'm not trying to be mean or anything. It just, sometimes I'm a little bit too direct. And there is a little bit too directness in it. There is that. But, but people take it differently based on how your culture was and how you're raised. We grew up in a loud family. If you're with us and all our families together in Kansas City, we're yelling at each other. And you think that we're arguing.
Funny. Like, me and my cousin, my cousin Vanessa sent me a picture of my cousin Ryan and Jeffrey having a conversation in the front yard. And realistically, if you just looked at body language alone
and listening,
and not listen to them at all, you would have thought they was beefing for real. You would have thought that. But with that being said, that's just how we communicate. And I think at times, even when we're talking about communication, when we're talking about improving ourselves, we like to interpret things from our viewpoint, as opposed to seeing that other side. And one thing I do even say with my clients, I'm like, we got to speak for the listener.
Right.
As opposed to for the speaker. Yeah. And it's not always easy to do, and you ain't always going to hit it on mark. And that's why I say either make sure you get a prescript or a postscript so that you can say, I'm trying to say this as gently as I can. However, in the interpretation that I saw of what you said to Joe Blow or whoever you was talking to, they might interpret what was said in a way that you didn't intend, because what I heard when you said this, it could be interpreted in this manner. But again, this is one of those things that when you really rolling deep with people that you have good relationships
then you
with,
kind of know that
then
stuff.
you kind
Because you can't control how people perceive what you say. Even for a direct person, you can be direct as hell. And the person's still going to interpret it the way that they feel that they want to interpret it. Or they feel what's relevant based on their life experiences.
Yeah.
So, but that's not necessarily my intent. So you, like, for instance, if I go through something with a loud noise, I can be banging, clapping, dancing, stumping my feet, having a good old time. And if somebody with trauma hear it from downstairs, they probably think somebody's fighting or there's fight or flight mode. Because based on your experiences is how you interpret things.
Yeah, and I think that is really important because it is based on those experiences. And I think for the most part, when people communicate, we have to know that nobody really knows you backwards and forwards. Like, they can have that interpretation, even if you're married to them, even if you're in a close relationship with them. You might know this information, but once you actually are interpreting that information, we input ourselves in a lot of that communication. So we really need to look at it for what was their intention. And one of the big
and we need to ask questions though, because my intention, I encountered with somebody that says, well, I don't think that you meant it that way, and they're mad at me. If I'm telling you that's not my intent for it, you got to take the speakers, you got to take their word for it. Hey, that's not what I meant. Let me correct myself. And you can't go on believing what you want to believe.
Yeah, you really can't. You can't. If somebody says this is what I meant by that, really, if you don't believe it, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, there's nothing I can do about it because you're thinking in make believe now.
You're thinking in make believe, and you're thinking in a way that you're intentionally actually trying to cause yourself harm. You're not even trying to cause that person harm, because if somebody then updates it, because we're growing, we're falling forward. So I might say something to somebody and I might 100%, oh, you know what, that didn't hit right. And I actually, and a lot of time for me, I don't even realize till after it was already said. Like one of my other very best friends, Chandra D, she'd be like, you know what, Christine Louise, like, why you always gotta say stuff like that? I think you could have said it differently. I said, girl, please. Out of all the options that went through my head,
that is the very best that I can come up with.
I picked the very best. Yeah, and that's
because
all
if
I got.
Told you what I really meant, we wouldn't be friends.
So,
what my first thought, if I want to say how I really, but we got to round this up because I know we've been running our mouth a whole bunch right now.
And it comes down to that falling forward is about taking your experiences and intentionally choosing to learn from them.
Yes.
Second, that fall forward is by 100% knowing who you are as a person, and knowing that you are an evolving person. You're not stagnant. If you telling me you the same person this year as you were last year, or even as you were 10, you got some problems.
Yes.
You need to be falling forward. We always
need
have
to grow.
Seek growth. Period. Point blank. And that's what this show's about.
Yeah. So just fall forward with us.